There's no turning back. I have pressed record. I think I should have this out in like every video because it helps me get the point across. This communicates to future employers that I'm very promising. Hey everybody, and welcome back. How are you? What's up? How are you doing? So I've been noticing that there have been some people who have watched my extreme horror vlogs and have commented certain things and have messaged me certain things, alluding to the fact that they would like to read books of that nature, but are too scared and would like to know how to get into the extreme horror genre without, you know, traumatizing themselves. There really is no way to just jump right in. That's what I did. I kind of just jumped right in. But then I realized that before jumping in, I did have some kind of practice. You know, I did have a bunch of gnarly books I read that did kind of meet the standard of horror that was a tier beyond Stephen King and Dean Koontz, a tier beyond mainstream acceptability, but not full-on extreme horror. So I figured that I would tell you lovely individuals, people, humans, watchers of mine, about certain books that I read that prepared me into taking the deep dive into the extreme side, the wild side, the gnarly, cannibalistic, necrophiliac side. Yes, I'm sure I sound really stable right now. Hello, future employers. Let me just put it into perspective like this. If Stephen King is vanilla, these books are like with a strap on, okay? Maybe some unnecessary, uncomfortable verbiage. Maybe a back getting scraped. Maybe a head accidentally hitting a headboard and the person realizing they like it. Clearly, the weather has relaxed me too much and I am going off, and I should probably start talking about the books now. In all seriousness, I mean, it's fun to freak yourself out every now and then, okay? It helps spice up the life. It helps you get a little wild. Who knows? Unpredictable, right? So yeah, these books are not extreme horror, maybe a tier below, but then a tier above the mainstream acceptability. First book I'm gonna recommend is Things Have Gotten Less Spoken. Fuck, this title is too long, honestly. Okay, I'm not drunk. Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. There we go. So this book is about two women who meet on an internet forum because one of them is selling this apple peeler. They begin this intimate online correspondence, and then this leads to things, okay? In all transparency, I personally have no concept of what it's like to be in a happy and stable relationship. However, I have gone through enough years in life to know that the things they do are things I wouldn't do to spice up my life. They go into territory that is beyond things that I would ever want to try. So let that be known. That's what you're gonna be getting yourself into. Okay, besties? Okay. But also, what I loved about this book is that it is a really good meditation on loneliness, isolation, and social anxiety. Hashtag relatable to this bitch over here. To me, this book is about the desperate need to form a human connection of any sort despite being allergic to other people. If you liked this book, you might also like the film The Piano Teacher. And this book goes to places where I was like, oh my goodness, had me blushing. I need help. Okay, the next one is a book that I actually own a physical copy of, but I own the movie tie-in paperback, so I'm just not gonna hold that up. That is The Ruins by Scott Smith. The setup is pretty simple. We follow a bunch of young, hot, attractive tourists going on vacation in Mexico over like spring break or summer break. I don't know why they're there. Does it really matter? And you may be like, why the fuck do I wanna read a book about young, attractive people on vacation? Like, why? This is not escapism to me. I don't care about these people. Good news. The characters in this book are fucking stupid. We follow a bunch of stupid white people who veer off the path in a forest and end up in these ruins despite the local residents in that area telling them not to. Do these kinds of people in horror books / movies ever listen? No. Look, stubborn idiots in real life, hell no. Stubborn idiots in books? Yes, please. Give it to me. I'm like, please be stupid. Please be stupid. Please be brave, because I wanted to see what will happen to you if you go into those ruins. And they did. And it was awesome. Because in real life, nobody would do what these people did. I think. I hope. Oh gosh. humanity has disappointed the world. This book is brutal, it is intense, it is body horror, it is gore. The movie is trash, don't watch the film, it's terrible. But the book, gnarly, served my bloodlust, very graphically described, brought me joy. Moving on. So the next book I'm gonna recommend is a horror comedy. This is really brutal, you guys. This one is like pretty intense. I would think this one counts as extreme horror, so I'm gonna put this in this list because it's a novella and it's really sick and really disgusting, but I had a good time. So that book is Header by Edward Lee, and I would say that this is like the most extreme book on this list because of just how gross and perverse, but so fucking funny it is. So we follow these two timelines. We follow this one guy that has just gotten out of jail, and he's living with his grandpa, and he is on this sort of quest for revenge. So we follow him, and then the second timeline is this cop. I don't remember if he's either a rookie or if he was a cop who is new to this precinct but worked as a cop before. But nonetheless, we follow these two guys, and all the while there is a string of murders happening around the town. And this book is fucking hilarious. If you share the same type of comedy that I do, this book made me laugh so hard, I think I like got a stomach ache. I had a blast and a half and another half blast. I think that's 2 blasts. I'm not good at math, but I'm just assuming, okay? I'm not gonna tell you what a header is, and if you would like to enjoy this book in all its disgusting, depraved glory, I would suggest you go in not knowing what one of those are either, okay? The ending of this book was so good. I grabbed my phone and stabbed it with a 5-star rating with my finger. I stabbed that 5-star rating so hard, my phone screen almost broke, okay? No exaggeration, just truth. All right, so the next book I'm gonna recommend is To Be Devoured by Sarah Tantlinger. I apologize if I mispronounced that. And we follow this woman named Andy, and she is living with her girlfriend named Luna, I think. So Andy suffers from this traumatizing past. She seeks therapy, but the reason this book has the title that it does is because she has this fascination with vultures and the consumption of dead meat, of carrion. And this book takes that obsession and uses it to present the logical conclusion of neglected trauma and unhealthy coping mechanisms and the darkness in our head and our souls from, you know, repressed grief and depression and rage. It's a really, really good book. This is probably the most beautifully written one on this list. It was incredible from start to finish. Lots of trigger warnings though, so be careful. The writing is so beautiful, but despite that, in terms of horror, it holds nothing back. Just saying. The jaw was on the floor. Good times. Alright, so the next book I'm gonna recommend is one that the plot is very difficult to describe because of how much this book resembles a YA book. So that's The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks. We follow this young boy named Frank. This book is set in a remote Scottish village. His brother is in a psych ward because he pulled some crazy shit, pulled some stunts. His dad is eccentric. His mom left them. It's a pretty sad life. I shouldn't be giggling. Early on in the book, we learn that the brother escapes, and we basically follow Frank going around this town, preparing and anticipating the return of his brother that escaped from a psychiatric hospital. And we get flashbacks, and we learn about what Frank does in his day-to-day life. Oh my goodness. This book is stunningly original. It is a book with horrible things happening, written with the blasé tone of a YA contemporary book, because that's essentially what this book is. It is a young adult coming-of-age story, but the young adults coming of age are unlike any I have ever read before, and this book definitely earns a spot in the horror genre. Let me just put it that way. To suggest that stuff goes down is an understatement. Also, the plot twist at the end of this book was like, I was just like, okay, yeah, these people should not be living together. That's just, yeah, this is wrong on so many levels. Anyway, so the next book I'm gonna recommend is for all the body horror fans out there, and that is The Troop by Nick Cutter. I wasn't a huge horror reader when I read this book for the first time. I think this is one of the first horror books I ever read, because I'm very new to the genre and I fell head over heels in love with both this book and the genre having read this book, and it bummed me out. Like, this book made me so depressed, but I gave it 5 stars because that is who I am, okay? Okay, so we follow this scoutmaster and his troop. They're Canadians. Just thought I'd throw that in there for some detail, you know? And they are on this trip in this island, so obviously they don't have access to a city or a mainland because they're on an island. I am such a fucking idiot, I swear. So they're on the island and they think they're alone with animals, but they're wrong because they come face to face with this one guy who is a crazy person. He is ravenously hungry. He's eating the soil. He's eating the dirt. He's like literally eating anything he can see and get his hands on for some reason. And the reason he is ravenously hungry bleeds into the overall horrific nature of what happens in the rest of this book. Body horror. Lots of body horror. Gore. Brutality. And what makes this so hard to read is that Nick Cutter makes you care so much about all these people. The dialogue is so believable. These kids actually sound like the way you'd hear kids talk. One kid asks the other kid, who would win in a fight, a zombie or a shark? And I'm just like, yeah, I've had conversations like this. Like, this is totally a thing that would happen. So when shit goes down, yeah, I was feeling bad. I was feeling real bad. I felt emotions for the first time in my life. Just kidding, oh my goodness. Or am I? Also, if you've read this book, I have some information to share with you, some trivia about myself. My favorite character was Shelley, and that should come as a surprise to literally no one, okay? Thank you very much. Alright, so the final book I'm gonna be recommending to you lovely humans is In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami. This author also wrote the book Audition, but I think this book fits the bill a bit better because although it does have scenes of extreme horror, for the most part, it is a book that deals with paranoia, suspicion, you know, just keeping you on the edge of your seat, implication, but it does get pretty gnarly, okay? Basically, this book is about this young man who is a tour guide in Japan. He's not just any ordinary tour guide, no. He is a tour guide in the Japanese red light district. So, you know, the place where you can see the peep shows and the hookers, that's the tour he's giving, okay? So the person he is giving a tour to is this older American man named Frank, and this Frank guy is someone who our main character finds to be pretty weird, okay? He thinks he's like, this guy's a bit of a weirdo. What am I doing? He is into some weird shit, making everybody in this bar uncomfortable. What's up? And we begin to fear that he is responsible for a string of killings that have been happening in that specific district. Also, this book does do a lot of things that I enjoyed. It gives commentary on Japanese and American culture from the perspective of a Japanese author. You know, how those cultures converge, diverge, how they differ, what people's interpretations of foreigners in their establishments is like. I thought that was really good. That was probably one of the more interesting parts of the story. I'm not gonna say where the extreme horror stuff comes in, but that stuff was pretty gnarly too, and I did appreciate that. So yeah, that's the list. That's what I'm gonna be recommending to you guys. If you have read these books and have liked them, then perhaps extreme horror might be your thing. Maybe move up a level, or not. Whatever the case may be, I just hope you're having a good time. That's what it's about. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in future videos, and as always, take care.